Hello and welcome. I'm Suma Katauka and you're watching World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. A Bangladeshi court convicts ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina of crimes against humanity over last year's deadly student crackdown. The verdict follows a months-long trial that found she ordered the security response to the uprising. Japan scrambles fighter aircraft after a suspected Chinese drone flies between Yonaguni Island and Taiwan. Tokyo says the incident comes just days after Prime Minister Takaichi's comments on Taiwan heightened tensions with Beijing. The death toll from Russian missile strike on Balaklia in eastern Ukraine rises to 3 people, with 10 others wounded overnight. Local officials say the attack hit the city during the night and emergency crews are still working at the scene. Rain has triggered landslides in Indonesia's central Java that has killed at least 18 people, with dozens still missing as rescue teams dig through deep mud. Authorities say homes were buried in Cilacap and Banjarnegara, with search operations continuing in dangerous conditions. South Korea's military proposes talks with the North to avoid further border clashes after recent incursions by North Korean troops. Seoul says it wants both sides to set a clear reference line along the military demarcation line to prevent accidental confrontations. The PKK says its fighters have withdrawn from key border area in northern Iraq to support the peace process with Turkey. The group calls the move a significant step towards resetting ties with Ankara. Leftist candidate Janet Jara takes a narrow lead with 27% in Chile's first-round election, with far-right rival Jose Antonio Cast at 24%, despite trailing Cast remains favored to win the runoff as crime and immigration dominate the deeply divided electorate. Federal agents arrest at least 81 people in Charlotte in a 5-hour operation, marking a major escalation in the Trump administration's deportation drive. Officials say many of those detained had prior criminal or immigration history, with Homeland Security yet to comment on the raids. Now we start with China and Japan. China's foreign ministry says that Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's remarks have seriously deteriorated atmosphere of people-to-people exchanges. This comes as Tokyo and Beijing are embroiled in a deepening row over Taiwan after Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi suggested that her country could potentially become militarily involved in the event of an attempted Chinese invasion of the self-governing island. Previously, the Chinese embassy in Tokyo warned its citizens against traveling to Japan because of what it described as serious safety risks. Meanwhile, Japan has dispatched Masaaki Kanai, Director General of the Foreign Ministry's Asian and Oceanian Affairs Bureau, to Beijing for talks aimed at preventing further escalation. Now for this discussion, we welcome Andrew K.P. Long. He's a China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this ever since the last time we discussed this, what do you think has changed, and what diplomatic strategies can Japan and China both employ to de-escalate tensions without compromising their national security?
Well, what has happened is because the new Japanese Prime Minister, Takaichi, has been known as an anti-China hawk, and she's also a strong supporter for changing Japan's wartime constitution to enable Japan to remilitarize as if Japan is a normal nation. Despite the wartime constitution, which prevented Japan from remilitarizing. This political stance, in fact, has gained a lot of support inside Japan. So the more hawkish Takaichi sounds, it seems that the more populish it's become because a lot of the Japanese people have increasingly have a negative view of China. But of course, Taiwan is regarded as China's internal affairs, the unification, and China's always wants to pursue peaceful unification. It's not about to invade Taiwan anytime soon, unless Taiwan declares formal independence. But now Taiwan has got a separatist, known to be a separatist leader elected to represent Taiwan, to lead Taiwan. And so it also rattles Beijing's red line on Taiwan unification. And hence this unhelpful remark by Prime Minister Takaichi is seen by Beijing as unnecessarily provocative, and Beijing is now sending very strong, robust signals to caution Japan by naval patrols near the Senkaku or the Diaoyu Islands, and by maybe some military aircraft flights, all to send a very strong signal that Taiwan unification is a red line, and it's in fact very top on President Xi's agenda of the nation's Renaissance. The latest deadline for Taiwan peaceful unification is 2049, which is of course still many years ahead. But for Japan to hype up the possible Beijing invasion of Taiwan is extremely unhelpful. Because both peoples on the mainland of China and Taiwan are increasingly interacting, and the momentum is in train for Taiwan to seek an accommodation with Beijing eventually.
Right.
But in fact, there was a recent survey in Taiwan. Many of its young people, over 52%, do not want to defend Taiwan because they know that this is going to happen. In fact, the two places are, yes, politically different, but there's not the end of the world. And a lot of the businesses opportunities for Taiwanese people exist on the mainland. So I think for Japan to put its hands in these waters and stirring up problems is extremely unhelpful from Beijing's perspective, nor would it gain support by the United States because the United States, the Trump administration doesn't want that spanner in the works, doesn't want a war with China. And of course, the United States is bound by a security treaty with Japan, but it doesn't want to be dragged into unwanted consequences by Japan. So I think that Takaichi is now using this rhetoric to gain political capital because there is a anti-China sentiments in Japan. But in this way, she could be playing with fire.
Andrew, I will disagree with the anti-China stance because Japanese people, especially young people, a lot of people love China, including myself. I've traveled to China, and lots of young people don't like confrontation, and they would prefer, even in foreign diplomacy, they would prefer no confrontation with China. We saw from today's news that China calling back their travelers to Japan has already affected Japan so negatively, and Japan's taking hit. And how do you think, to what extent should statements by political leaders about potential military actions affect people-to-people exchanges and economic cooperation between these two states?
Well, actually, you put your finger on it. People-to-people exchanges are even more important than sending a representative official from Tokyo to talk to the Chinese, because on the one hand, the Takaichi administration wants to gain political capital by playing up this anti-Beijing sentiments. On the other hand, Japan wants to have opportunities for investment, for cooperation. But treading on Beijing's red line is not very helpful. But despite the official context, which are likely to concentrate on business opportunities, the fact that is a body of support for Takaichi's hawkish attitude towards China suggests that there is a lot of misunderstanding amongst the Japanese people, although a lot of the Japanese young people still want to have a friendship with Beijing, but there's still a great deal of misunderstanding. And of course, for China, Japan has never apologized for its invasion, and despite the fact that Germany, for example, after the Second World War, quickly apologized openly by the former German chancellor kneeling in public view openly to the entire world, apologizing what the Nazi Germany did. But Japan never done that. It's never admitted any guilt, and that anchored the Chinese people. And also, the Japanese invasion was started by a fabricated incident on the 7th of July, 1937, over the so-called local bridge. And that, using a fabricated incident that led to the large-scale invasion by Japan of northeast China. And that's why Beijing is now cautioning its nationals because in this worsening relationship between China and Japan, there could be the risk exists of some sort of a fabricated incident dragging China into unwanted consequences. Now, this kind of rhetoric against China, as if China wanted to invade Taiwan anytime soon, is also extremely unhelpful because the idea is for peaceful unification. And also, additionally, Japan has a peace treaty, security treaty with the United States. But the Trump administration doesn't want to be dragged into a war with China. So I think it is also unhelpful, perhaps from Americans' perspective. But nevertheless, Takaichi wants to reap political capital and want to gain economic benefits at the same time, but she may be playing with fire.
Yes. Thank you very much for bringing that insight and shedding light on the history behind these two neighbors. Thank you very much, Andrew. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on to South Korea and North Korea. South Korea has formally proposed military talks with North Korea to prevent accidental clashes along the border. Seoul's defense ministry announced it is seeking discussions to set a clearer baseline for the military demarcation line, citing repeated intrusions by North Korean soldiers and increased activity near the frontier. Deputy Defense Minister Kim Hong-chol has said that the North has been laying landmines, installing roads, and putting up barbed wire fences, while some of its troops have crossed into the south side of the line more than 10 times this year, already surpassing the total for 2024. South Korea believes many of the original boundary markers from 1953 armistice have been lost, leading to differing perceptions of the border. With all direct military communication severed, Seoul plans to send its proposal through the United Nations Command. So far, North Korea has not responded, continuing its stance or rejecting dialogue. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Andrew K.P. Long. He's a China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, Andrew, for staying with us. Now, looking at these two countries, how might South Korea's push for military talks through United Nations Command reshape balance between inter-Korean diplomacy? Could it actually happen? Do you think UN can realistically bring these two countries to negotiating table on border?
Well, I don't think that the North Korea is very eager for negotiating on the unification of Korea. They know that the two regimes are diametrically opposed, even though that they're both the Korean people. But also, South Korea is seen to be some sort of an ally with the United States, and the United States always wants to put down North Korea, in spite of President Trump's earlier visit across the border to shake hands with Kim. But after years and years of the so-called six-party talks, it all ended up in nothing because the United States always wants the North Korea to give up everything before they started to negotiate or even ease some of the sanctions. So Kim is totally fed up with the United States and is concentrating on its nuclear deterrence and its nuclear defense, building up its nuclear capabilities, and as a warning. But North Korea, for South Korea, the most important thing is to stabilize its border as disputes with North Korea, and hence this latest gesture. As in a time when the new South Korean leader has got to contend with a fractured world, with tariffs coming from the United States, and then with the conflicts, potential conflicts over the South China Sea and so on. So I think that South Korea wants to stabilize a relationship with North Korea by some sort of a demarcation, so as to prevent things from getting out of hand at the last minute.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Andrew K.P. Long for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news on Asia. Now we move on to Bangladesh. The Special Tribunal of Bangladesh sentences ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death, concluding a months-long trial that has found her guilty of ordering a deadly crackdown on a student-led uprising last year. Bangladesh's Special Tribunal also sentences former Home Minister Asaduzzahman Khan Kamal to death for crimes against humanity. Adding on to the verdict, the court says the former police chief Chaudhry Abdullah Al-Maimun is being awarded leniency for his contribution to the trial, including material evidence to the tribunal to arrive at the correct decision. Now for this discussion, we welcome Prashanta Kumar Shil. He's a political commentator, joins us live from Dhaka. Thank you very much, Mr. Prashanta, for joining us again. Good to see you. Mr. Prashanta, can you tell us what more is your reaction, and what are people of Bangladesh's reaction towards Sheikh Hasina's reaction on her death sentence, and who is the other person who's been sentenced to that Mr. Home Minister Asaduzzahman Khan Kamal? Who is he and what did he do?
Okay, you know that especially we see that from today, very auspicious day from today, especially we are waiting 3 hours more, just waiting what is happening from our International Criminal Court of Justice. You know that, and we see that after 3 hours later, we know that the actual finding is coming about the allegation of the, and already from Sheikh Hasina's from verdict of the from International Court of Criminal Justice. And you know that they haven't mentioned 5 charges from allegation from former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and also Asaduzzahman Khan. He's a former Home Minister from Bangladesh, and also the very interesting part of the point of view, this is a former IGP in police from Mr. Mamu. So just talk about the Sheikh Hasina and Mr. Asaduzzahman Khan is now not here in Bangladesh. They're stay in India from source. So you know that Mr. Mamun, we see that the last couple of months ago, he's the main verdict from this from the church from that. But interestingly, we see that after 2-3 months ago, we see that he's converted. He's as a verdict as to state witness, the main state witness. Very interesting, and the supporter of Amli actually basically hit down from today's the issues. And you see that the today's jurisdiction also see that Sheikh Hasina and Mr. Asaduzzahman Khan, they are already death penalty, but Mr. Mamun only 5 years prisons. So this is very interesting for the supporter of Amli to think that it's prescribed, and it's self-motivated, pre-motivated jurisdictions already that. And the Amlik supporter mentioned it's a kangaroo court. So all the, especially judges, jurisdiction, procedure, advocate, and everything's all are the pre-planned, and they are all are the politically biased. They given political advantage for these issues, and people, especially, you can talk about the neutral way. What is happening for that? Especially, you can talk about the Sheikh Hasina's and her judgment, especially her age consideration, her tenure, and also that she's a female one, and his gender issues and age and everything. Is it clear to maintain the international stability and international court from justice and humanitarian ground? Is it maintained? So there's lots of questions coming beside of ground reality versus hard reality. But very interesting, that. But if you talk about from the government side, from that you have been from some allegations, and you haven't just to make an justice, but you have to make it ensure how you can credible and how we can accuracy maintain your for jurisdiction, because it's a very main question, and the Amlik people and Amlik supporter have to make questions.
Yes,
It's not
Mr.
a very
Yes.
fair way. So how you
Yes.
can make to space answer the policy given others? It's a jurisdiction.
Yes.
So this is a very good questions for and very fundamental one. And also we see
Yes.
that
Mr.
especially
Prashant, please stay with
Mr.
us.
Mahmood.
We stay on this topic now, so please stay with us. Thank you for sharing that. Now we carry on with this news. Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has publicly responded to sentencing. She had stated that while the government lost control of the situation, she could not describe the events as a premeditated assault on citizens. The ex-Prime Minister further expressed that she was not afraid to face her accusers in the proper tribunal where evidence could be fairly examined. However, Hasina has criticized the judicial process, claiming she was not given a fair chance to defend herself in court. She went on to describe the verdicts against her as politically motivated and biased, accusing the tribunal of being rigged. According to Hasina, the tribunal was established and presided over by an unelected government without a democratic mandate, casting doubt on its legitimacy. Now we welcome back Mr. Prashant Kumar Shil. He's a political commentator, joins us live from Dhaka. Thank you very much, Mr. Prashant, for staying with us. As you were mentioning about how important this ongoing verdict is and the changes that it should be made in Bangladesh to bring this about, this change that's needed. How might Sheikh Hasina's claims of politically motivated and illegitimate tribunal influence domestic perception of this justice? Are people supportive or understanding of her claims? What is your take?
Yeah, that Sheikh Hasina, you can think that is only the party chief, not like that. I already mentioned she's a former prime minister, and she has another attachment, 15 years ruling from, and another attachment is here. He is a daughter of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. He's a father of nation. So there's lots of attachment and fan base. In Awami League, that the fan base party from Bangladesh in politics. And also very interesting to see that from these jurisdictions, from two jurisdictions, and what ICT criminal court give very emphasizely. And very interesting, there is no appeal. You have not to go to an appellate division from these jurisdictions. Very interesting, because there is no ground reality in our law. There is no appellate from this ground. If the victim or the accused are not in meeting physically, so there's a way. And another challenge for, I think, my observation from, especially you can give a very jurisdiction procedure in Bangladesh by court, but is it possible to execute Sheikh Hasina's death penalty? So this is a very major question. So it's not only it's take to you can just written your document and just gave in a statement for everything. But is it possible to check us in a death penalty? You can just execute. This is a very one kind of questions. And another part of you view that Sheikh Hasina is a fan-based lady, and he has a very good political supporter for that. And I see my observations. There's some comeback issues from the Awami League. You know that after the 5th August, there's some last 1 year we have no activities from the Awami League. But we see that last 2 or 3 months, we see that there's some comeback possessions from the Awami League. So that's why the Awami League can be rebate again. So that's that kind of jurisdiction, that kind of scenario, I think is a very good advantage for the Awami League supporter. They can give the full dividend for that. So it's my observation. And also I think the talk about the law order and situations, I think the next time is very unrest situation in Bangladesh politics, because there's an already the political party are divided into the referendum issues. You know that the political parties are already divided into the July charters, and now they are the main motto the next election. So I think it's a little bit tough for the Bangladesh politics from this Sheikh Hasina's jurisdiction also, and totally the hospitals and very law and order situation is very turbulent. So this is my observation. I think it's not a take care. The people it's a very simple way. People think it's a very strategic and very pre-described way. And also the Awami League supporter who are the support Awami League, they have been mentioned already several times. It's a pre-planned justice, not to give in a standard demand. So this is not a very good signal from the Bangladeshi politics. And also you see that today what is happening in Dhanmondi 32 number house. You know that the Dhanmondi 32 number house is a very soft corner of the Awami League, and is a Sheikh Hasina's house. And now we see that the bulldozer came and that's just destroy the want to destroy the Sheikh Hasina's the rest part of the house. So this is very not a good practice. If you are in just in vital positions and everything, just come to bulldozer and just destroy your house. It's not good practice for Bangladesh politics. I think there's some unrest situation is rising, and the politically some divided rules are in years, and this jurisdiction is not a very full benefit for the country. It's a very clash and anti-clash situation for the next decades.
Indeed.
So we have to see how the present government from control these issues very hardly.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Prashanta Kumar Shil for joining us today as a political commentator from Dhaka. Thank you very much. Now we stay on this topic.